Welcome back to another episode of Straight Facts. So many transfer stories to delve into, talk about, get your opinions on. Of course, Jess and I will be going through them with you. We are talking Manchester United in talks for Ruben Neves, expected to make an official bid for him. Two big Premier League players reportedly agreeing terms. Lukaku agreeing terms with Inter Milan, and Mane a 3-year deal with Bayern Munich. And there have been some talks today. James Pearce, arguably the most credible Liverpool-based journalist out there, has stated that Mo Salah is open to joining a Premier League rival if he leaves on a free next year. We're going to look at that. And of course, the exodus from Manchester United as well, with Lingard and Pogba confirmed as gone today. But Jess, how are you?
I'm good. Can't complain. Missing, watching football a little bit.
You're missing the football.
A little bit. Yeah. This is how I always am. I'm like desperate for the season to be over. And then as soon as it ends, I'm like, when does it come back? So.
Well, yeah, no, I'm kind of like that in terms of I love transfer chat. I like the news. I like all the big opinions. And then I kind of like to round off the day by watching a game of football or like build up to the weekend where the football starts. So, but you do need the break as well. I think at the start of the season, the start of the campaign is exciting because of that. It's great, but there seems to be a lot of groundwork going on in the transfer window as it stands right now. And, one of the first and big ones I want to start with Liverpool today. We're going to move on to Man United. We're going to talk Chelsea. But the big news, Mane, and the reports are when it comes to Mane here. Oops, I've completely
I don't see it.
No,
what's going on?
I just completely pressed the wrong button there. The thoughts are that Mane has agreed a 3-year deal with Bayern Munich. What's your feeling on that?
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Sadio Mane. I think over the years, maybe he's been somewhat in the shadow of Mohamed Salah. Often when we talk about them as a pair. But, even like recently, it's kind of become a little bit more apparent that Mo Salah is like the franchise player, and Sadio Mane is somewhat of a Scottie Pippen, in this whole equation. And he's not young. And I think at this point in his career, he wants to be compensated for it. I think he wants to be compensated as like a main guy, and he doesn't feel like he's going to get that at Liverpool. And also he wants to be more of a star. And so maybe he feels like he's going to get that at Bayern Munich. I think we all kind of maybe figured at some point that group, Salah, Mane, Firmino, would break up. I'm not surprised that Sadio Mane looks like he's going to be the first one off, but I think that's a good move for him. You can still win big things at Bayern Munich. You're still going to be playing in Champions League. They'll compensate you well. You get to go play in a different league. And so for me, like if I'm looking at it from Sadio Mane's like perspective, I think that's a really good move for him financially and for what he wants to do in his career moving forward. But I do find it a little bit annoying to see some people suggesting like, why would he want to be anywhere other than Liverpool? He's at one of the best clubs in the world, and he's doing this and he's doing that, and it's da-da-da. Like, he wants to be the main man, and he wants to be compensated the way that he feels like is appropriate for a player of his stature. If Liverpool can't do it, he needs to go. He's been there for years now. So the idea that he should just stay because it's Liverpool, it's not like he came through their academy, so I think that this is a good move for him. I mean, what do you think? Have you kind of heard some of the different pundits talking about Sadio Mane as if, because I know I saw it on like ESPN, I saw it in different places where it was like almost like this, what could you possibly get at Bayern that you couldn't get at Liverpool? The money that you want.
Well, but I think this is what it comes down to. I mean, the story here comes from Dave OC Kopp, very credible when it comes to Liverpool transfers. And, he spoke about this 3-year deal. There's reports of huge amounts of money being exchanged here, north of 300 to 350,000 pounds per week. I'm a little bit bored of this notion when players leave certain clubs to go to others. It's always mercenary. The kind of mercenary talk is thrown out there. They're not using the words mercenary here for Mane, but this is a man who we already know, by the way, pumped so much of his fortune into his family, charities, building schools, funding hospitals, educating people in his homeland. And it's a case of why would he not want to earn more money? Even if he goes, do you know what? The last 3 years of my contract, I want to earn all that money for me now. I want to put it into bank accounts and investments for my children and my children's children. So what? So be it. Like, let him do that. I also understand Liverpool cashing in on him because he is 30 odd years old. If you give him a £350,000 a year deal, at the end of that 3 to 4 year period, he's worth very little money. He's in the twilight of his career already. And Liverpool are going to feel, and this is the rhetoric I'm seeing from Liverpool fans, is, well, we'll sell him, we'll get 40, 50 million. We'll save on the big salary that he wanted, and we'll reinvest in another Luis Diaz. We won't go big. We're not going to spend money on a Lewandowski. We're not going to spend the salaries I'm talking here. We're not going to go big for a Harry Kane. We are going to do what we always do, a 30, 40, 50 million pound player and build them into a superstar. So if that's Liverpool's real train of thought, it makes a lot of sense. But people having a pop at Mane, for me, is just wrong. And the one thing I will say is this, and this couple's a secondary story. Now, I've put in the title Salah to City, and I'll tell everyone why in a few moments, because I think City are the only team that could get Salah. He isn't going to go to Manchester United. He isn't going to go to Arsenal. Chelsea, maybe, but he's already been there. Chelsea are the outside team. There's no other team in England he could go to. But the news around Salah, of course, shared by James Pearce via Bleacher Report, is that Mo Salah is open to joining another Premier League side on a free transfer in 2023 if he doesn't receive a significant improved offer from Liverpool. Now, for James Pearce to report this, there has to be, in my opinion, an element of truth to this. There has to be an element of realness to this situation. Now, for me, I've said this to Liverpool fans for a long time, and it's never been a dig. It's never been a calling them out. When you have some of the best players in the world in your team, your wage bill increases. The amount of money you then have to spend to either replenish your squad or to keep them increases. You never get away with spending small amounts of money for more than 2 or 3 years, because most Liverpool fans in the last year have been angling for both, if one of these two, to win the Ballon d'Or. You're essentially saying best players in the world are in our team right now. So, of course, them and their agents are going to go and want as much money as possible. Liverpool don't appear to want to pay that. So, of course, they might join a rival. Of course, they're going to go to other big clubs. And these other big clubs, because they're not going to spend huge transfer fees, will pay them those wages. It equals itself out. The big question is, will Liverpool get it right again? Will they get it right again and buy two players that can replace these two? Replacing Mane and Salah is going to be, even though Diaz has started brilliantly, there's no guarantees he's going to score and create and be as consistent as these two have practically been for 5, 6 years. They have been phenomenal. So this is not, in my opinion, this is not good news for Liverpool. It's not the end of the world, but I'm intrigued to know how they replace them.
I mean, but also we're in the midst of Sadio Mane leaving, so like easily they could take the wages that they have for Sadio Mane and just shift them on over to Mohamed Salah, because he's also going to know that those wages are now available. That's one of like the worst things that can happen, is when a player is trying to renegotiate their contract and they know that the wages are going to be sitting there. So, I could see the story changing within the next couple of months or so, that they found the money, the contract has been approved, or improved, and Salah is going to stay. Or resign, because he already said he's going to stay at least another year. But going to a rival, like I feel like that would just be like so insane. I think Liverpool will do whatever they possibly can to stop that from happening, because that just feels. Could you even see him in somebody else's kit? Like, I honestly can't.
Listen, I can't either. I mean, the crazy thing about this is that, generally speaking, we only focus on clubs where there's problems, when a player uses other clubs. So Paul Pogba has been chastised as a troublemaker, bad attitude, a slacker And a lot of that is centered around him and his, I know Mino Raiola's passed away now, so I'm not going to speak ill of anybody that's passed. Not for someone who's been an agent. Like, it wasn't like he did any madnesses that we know of course. But he was, he's a bad guy because he's flirting with City, he's flirting with this club, and he's winding United fans up. Mo Salah's doing exactly the same thing with his agent Remy. They're doing the same thing to try and get what they want. And this is kind of normal. Man United fans only focus on Pogba doing it because Man United were bad. We've been bad. Roy Keane did this. David De Gea, that a lot of United fans love, did this exact same thing. Rooney did something similar. This is just par for the course. I think there's an element of Salah's got to look beyond Liverpool in case Liverpool don't budge, in case Liverpool don't succumb to the negotiations. But they're obviously trying to put the fear of God into them, saying, well, we'll go and play for City. I mean, City or Chelsea are the only two teams that could get him, in my opinion. But I do look at City, and again, a few people going, Terrace, it's never going to happen. Free transfer next year, Mo Salah on the right-hand side at City, with dynamite. It'd be dynamite. And look, I don't want to see it because it'll make City even harder to beat. But Liverpool have got to do something here. Comment says, Rodrigo to Liverpool. Could this happen? Yeah. I mean, listen, Liverpool have the ability to sign whoever they want. But I've been saying this to Liverpool fans for a long time. That the fact they got Diaz for like 50, 60 grand a week is crazy. I feel, though, if you're replacing one of the stars, though, the negotiations are a little bit different. It's almost a case of, but I'm replacing the player that you all said should be the Ballon d'Or winner. So I've got to be
this is like the first time we've seen this from this cycle. This is it. Like, are you going to replace your stars with stars, or are you going to go back with the, kind of like the builder-upper guys, So the first time we've seen it. So it's like very interesting to see. Rodrigo is class. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, you'd probably want like Vinny instead. Like, do you know what I mean? Like another level up or a couple levels up. Like, I don't know.
Anfield Reds here says, we already have a great team. We will replace him easily. I think he is regressing. I think what I would say to that is you might be able to replace this version. I think you're talking Mane. This version of Mane easy. But you're not replacing this version of Mane. You have to replace peak Mane is the question. And Grizz Khan responded to a tweet of mine earlier because I sort of said that when you have the best players in the world, you've got to pay them accordingly. He says, or you get rid and you start again. And that is an absolutely fair piece of analysis. It really, really is. It really, really is, because you're in this situation of, we've done it before, we can do it again. But then Liverpool fans have got to temper themselves to maybe not challenging for a league title again for a couple more years. If in that process, if you're not quite ready, especially with City being as good as they are, like that's the thing. If you're gonna,
that's deep, because I mean, I'm sure Liverpool fans don't want to have like any sort of rebuild. I know that they're saying it now. Like, oh, we could just go again, but with the likes of like Newcastle coming up that are obviously going to push to try to become the new City. Like Chelsea are coming again, Man United's coming again. Like, I think it could be rough, but at the same time, like they've been so good in the market that maybe it won't take 5-6 years this time. Maybe it's just a 2 or 3 year get back up to where you guys, were, or maybe you don't fall off at all, but it's the unknown that's kind of like, wow.
The thing is, there are no guarantees. You could sign Judd Bowen and he does an amazing job. You could go and sign Mbappe and he flops in the Prem. And I'm throwing them out as two very warped, two players that you wouldn't even put on the same planet as each other. But football has a funny way of showing things. I mean, you sign a player from Southampton that Man United fans didn't want over Martial. Crazy decision. I always said Mane was better. And you signed a quote unquote. Yeah.
Are there receipts?
Of course there is. If you go back to my videos, they're still on the channel from when we were linked with, go back to when I was talking about Mane, loved him. When Liverpool signed him, one thing I never do, if I want a player at Man United, because I think he's great, and then he signs for a rival, I don't suddenly do a stream where I'm like, oh, actually, maybe this could go wrong. Same with when same as when they signed Fabinho. When they signed Fabinho, I was gutted because he was a class player and he's proven it. Terry, stop scaring Liverpool fans. Their worst nightmare is him joining City. Well, look, no one else has said he's going to join City, but if he's good, if he's up for joining a rival, I don't see him disrespecting them that much to go Man United. I don't mean this horribly. Spurs, no. Absolutely no chance of Arsenal. So you've got Chelsea where he's already been, or Man United. So, sorry, or Man City. So that's what I would say there. Winnerpool says, Terry, I don't think that it would be best for Liverpool to keep Mane for the last year. Add some people and use the gen of players. Use this
generation of
players and Klopp to challenge for the next 4 years and let Mane go on a free last dance. So you think it's best to keep him for the last year? Yeah, but Liverpool are going to want to recoup. Liverpool, they're very open about the fact that we sell to buy. We have to be able to compete financially, we have to sell at some point. And I think if they can raise 40, 50 million pounds for him and save that year's salary, they're going to do it. Do you know what I mean? Who knows who they then may go in for? You know, Rafinha could be an option. I know Barca are looking at him and Bayern Munich. But maybe
they're also linked to Arnaut Danjuma, you know, so that's maybe an option for them.
There's Nkunku. There's a few. I mean, maybe the plan is you sign a central striker. Maybe it's Darwin Núñez. Maybe it's Nkunku that goes centrally, and Diaz becomes your main man out on the left. But where my point around the consistency is this: I think that Luis Diaz has been an outstanding signing. He looks brilliant, but we don't know if he can be as consistent for as long as Mane has been consistent for Liverpool. And that's the big question, because when you're trying to beat this City team to titles, when you're trying to win Champions Leagues, that consistency is so key. And it's not a time for Liverpool fans to panic. This day was always going to come where this brilliant front three started to fall away. One was sold, two get sold. Eventually, all three will not be here. That's football. But it's just those early stages. I've been through it as a United fan. We're getting rid of Chelsea. We're getting rid of no, we can't be getting rid of Paul. I remember when we sold Paul Ince. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was amazing. Why are we getting rid of Paul Ince for? Promoting Scholes. Is he ready? Is he ready? He was actually. But you never quite know the direction that it's going to go in.
It was so long ago.
Yeah, it was. I know. But I'm old. I'm old. I remember these things. I remember these things. Viewers, make sure you're hitting that like button for us right now. Give that a little bit of a smash. Everyone watching on Twitch, thank you very, very much. Over on Facebook as well, a big thank you. YouTube, you know what you got to do. Facebook is currently ahead of YouTube for likes. We're on 164 on YouTube. We're on 270 on Facebook. So YouTube, get yourselves catching up. You can't get beat by Facebook people. No disrespect to you people over at Facebook, but YouTube, you can't get beat by the Facebook.
Why are you dissing like your own viewers here?
Because Facebook viewers are kind of different from like you're kind of scrolling around.
What does that mean?
What I mean by that is people don't generally like use they use Facebook and people know the stream's coming, so they get themselves ready for it, right? Where I know that by the analytics of where most people click through notifications and things like that. Where with YouTube, it's a little bit different. So just make sure you're hitting that like button and stuff, people, and go from there. Who uses Facebook in 2022? Quite a few people by the analytics, but there we go.
It's not just the Facebook people. They're watching.
I didn't diss them. I'm having a go at the YouTubers and being outdone by them is what I'm saying there. My YouTube people are catching up though already. I can see it. My YouTubers are flying.
They're competitive, I guess.
Love to see it. Love to see it. Another big story today. Now, this is such an intriguing one for me because, again, football banter's kind of in the mud today, but Lukaku has reportedly agreed to rejoin Inter Milan on loan next season and has agreed personal terms in the process. It is said to be a £25 million 1 year fee. Sorry, I'm a liar. £20 million 1 year fee with an option to buy of £65 million at the end of it. And they've offered him wages of around about 7.5 million a year. Year one, Chelsea will make up the difference. But there is a big get out here for Romelu Lukaku. And on paper, if he does well, which most expect him to, Chelsea could make back the vast majority of their money. They could get back 85 million of the 95 million they paid. Surely that's a deal that just has to happen.
Yeah. I mean, Tuchel's like, get him out of here. Never wanted him in the first place, so got to get rid. Yeah, got to be the worst signing, of this past summer. It just hasn't worked out. And I think it's also like a a warning, to everybody looking at these strikers at in other leagues and stuff. Make sure the manager actually wants these guys, because if they don't, it could be a train wreck. But ultimately, like, this definitely has to happen. I think it's interesting that Chelsea are able to like get almost all of their money back from such a bad signing. I've never like for like an Arsenal fan, we've never been able to do anything similar to that. You know what I mean? So it just shows how well run they are, I think, and the fact that they're never under pressure to sell, so they can kind of make these types of deals. But yeah, like, it has to happen, and he hasn't worked out, and his little interview during the January time worked out for him. I think he forced his way out.
Yeah, look, I can't see a world, and I get, like, we've had journalists on that have spoken about this and have kind of played it down, and they've been quite respectful. I can't see a world. I can't see a way. I can't see Lukaku staying. I can't see why. Dean Jones was on Monday and said that Lukaku's open for staying if Tuchel essentially, and Dean won't word it how I'm wording it, because Dean is very, very careful with these words, but he's essentially said, Tuchel, change your style of play and I'll stay here. There's no way Tuchel is changing his style of play to accommodate him. This is a chance to recoup all but £10 million of what you paid for him.
That's so good. Like, usually when you make mistakes, you have to like live with it and eat that mistake. So it definitely has to happen. And it's crazy. I thought he was going to get the golden boot. Wow. Like,
I was so wrong with that one. I got that one. I really thought, I just thought that he would be this final piece of the jigsaw for this Chelsea team. And the maddest thing
you saw the trampoline touch and you remembered, like,
yes,
it's actually just Lukaku.
It wasn't even that though, Jess. Like, it was worse than that. It was worse than that. It was the lack of work rate. In so many games, he weren't running the channels. Then when he did that interview, it all came to fruition. He made the move, and I think it was. I've got a friend who did this once. They legitimately got divorced from their missus, had a year or two apart, and then they started dating and got back together, moved back in with her. And I remember it was 4 to 5 weeks in. We were all out, and he went, guys, I've made a big mistake. And it was like, mate, you made the same mistake again. And I think he's come back, spent a bit of time in London, in the Chelsea setup, and realized, I didn't really want this at all. I didn't want it at all. There was not a part of me that wanted it. And some players have got a different professional mindset, not a right or a wrong, just a different one, where they can go, right, I've left that club now. I'm 100% dedicated. And I think as soon as he let the cat out of the bag and admitted to himself and the world that he didn't really want to be there, I just think it was impossible for him to switch his mind back on to being a Chelsea player again. And if they can get this deal done now, I think the only thing stopping it may be getting a replacement. But they are linked to Nkunku. They're linked to a number of attacking players themselves. Chelsea have got to jump on this. They really, really have. LeBlancos here says, never go back to your ex, Pogba, Lukaku. I mean, ironically, Pogba looks like he's going back again. Like, Pogba literally just switches between the two. It's unbelievable. Isco says, I think Chelsea didn't play to his strengths. Do you think Chelsea are to blame, though? Do you think Chelsea got it wrong by signing him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm making an assumption here, but from what I've read, and just the overall vibe, I don't think Tuchel wanted this guy. Like, I think they made a club signing, and said, okay, we need a striker, because they missed out on Holland. So missing out on Holland, they knew they needed something, and they went for Lukaku was the next guy up, another big signing, kind of statement signing that they could do. So I do think that, I've never saw Tuchel try to even use him at all in a way that suited him, which to me just signals that he didn't want him. So playing to his strengths, yeah, but like when you hire Thomas Tuchel, like, you are signing up to do things his way. If you don't, he's not going to just lay down and just, do what you want. Like, he's going to just ice that player out or get mad at the board. So yeah, I think they learned their lesson. If they want to keep Tuchel, they need to buy in players that he actually wants. I don't think that has anything to do with Tuchel.
Yeah. Listen, I agree. I think it was the persistent mistake made every now and then by Roman and Chelsea is buying players managers don't want, or giving them the wrong types of player. We saw it under Jose, we saw it famously under Antonio Conte, and we've seen it again here. Terry, the difference between 100 million Grealish and 100 million Lukaku, Grealish is willing to learn. I think that's because Grealish wants to be at Manchester City. The difference between the two is Lukaku decided, I don't want to be here. And again, once you make that decision in your mind, it's so hard to turn it around. It really is. I've just waived the 20 million loan fee. I just waived the 20 million loan fee and sell for 65 million. Better deal because that's it done. Please sell Loftus-Cheek as well.
I think they talk about this type of stuff too. Like they put the option there to like give them some sort of out. But I wouldn't be surprised if they basically have spoken about like he's going to go. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't think I can see a scenario where Chelsea would. They probably know that at some point Inter will buy him. So if they know that behind the scenes and it's just an option just in case, you got to take the 22. You know, you have to.
Yeah, and look, I think I do get the point of this in terms of if he went back to Inter and was poor, and Inter go, well, we're not buying him. Then you've got that risk, but. You know, Chelsea are going to want to raise money as much as anything else. That they've got a big summer ahead, and you know, there's the deal for Jules Koundé. You know, being told for over a week now, it is so close to happening. It's just finalising details now with Sevilla. But, you know, they're going to bring in a couple of centre-backs. They're going to bring in a midfielder. They're going to bring in an attacker or two. They're going to want to raise as much money as possible. And I just think that this is the kind of deal. Now, what they might be able to negotiate is a slightly lower, maybe a lower fee. What I would probably look at is 20 million up front now, maybe 55 million, but make it an obligation to buy. That might be that would be the angle I would go down. So there is very little chance at all of Inter being able to get out of this, because that's what, you know, you don't want that happening. But I think Inter agreeing personal terms with him, according to a number of reports outside of Italy today. I saw Simon Phillips share that earlier on today. It all looks very positive, like this deal could happen. But like we know all it takes is for Lukaku during the Nations Leagues to pull something or rip something or tear something, and it could change things. So Chelsea, of course, are going to want to get this done sooner rather than later to kind of get him moved on. The fact AC Milan won the league title is driving this. Do you think that's it with Inter? I mean, if Inter would have kept Lukaku in his goals, you watch more Serie A than me, would they have beaten AC Milan to the title, do you think?
I don't watch it that deep. You know, maybe. I'm just going to guess. Maybe.
Well, I've seen you tweet about some games. You watch.
Yeah, just watch like here and there, but like I'm not deep in it. I watch more than you, though.
What happens is with a lot of football fans like yourself is they talk about like
yourself,
like yourself, yo, like you
whatever. Okay,
you're one of them ones. I watch it so much. You always talk about how much you know about these players. So you basically just read a scout report and then pretend like you watch the league. Is that what you're saying?
I just watch compilations and then regurgitate what I've seen.
Yeah, what I do is I search a player and I find like the best 4 or 5 tweets or threads, learn them, and just I repeat what the thread says, and sounds like
exactly
my is amazing. I know people that do match reviews and don't watch games; they just say things they read on Twitter.
Oh my gosh!
There's a guy that used to do fan cams for AFTV. He told me this, and a friend of his confirmed this to me. He did 2 things. He would be reading Twitter throughout the course of the game to see what the trending topics were. And then he'd listen to 2 or 3 of the other really good fan cammers. And then he would go and do his. And then he would ask, and it nearly always happened, his would be one of the first released. So it would look like they were all his thoughts. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, basically you say, like, I used to scam it. And I was like, that's a madness. Like,
I'm surprised that you would even think that much into it. But, you know.
Some people do. You know, people repeat things because it's like, we've done it in the studio where we don't have, obviously we're watching it. When we've done watch songs, we haven't got the volume on. And we're talking about sometimes very different things to what Twitter's talking about. But Twitter's talking about what either one big influencer has said or what a commentator says. Does that make sense? Like when you're not listening to it, it's very different, very, very different indeed. Big up Terry. Arteta out is what Oregon Guna has got to say. Is there much going on with Arsenal at the minute, by the way? I haven't really looked for a few days on Arsenal news, but it seems quite sparse right now. Aaron Hickey fighting for Aaron Hickey with Brentford and stuff like that.
Aaron Hickey, Tielemans, and Gabriel Jesus. Those are the things that are going on, you know. I don't really know. I don't really feel like I think some people they just want to hear more and more and more and more and more, but like those are clearly going to be the first two things that we try to get done or the first three things we try to get done. And then when those get done, we'll see what happens after that. But, you know, I guess I'd rather the targets be like set in stone than just hearing a bunch of different things over and over and over again. That's just me, you know.
No, listen, I hear what you're saying. I think it's there's definitely that element. And Arsenal news, I think Arsenal news has gone quiet because I think they're settling on their targets and they're going to start working on them. But most players right now are either on international duty or on holiday. This is when you actually want, you know, both our clubs have had this happen where like we're in the middle of a window and you're like, we need some deals being done. Where's your chief negotiator? He's gone on holiday for 2 weeks. This is when you want your people to take their breaks, take their holidays, get it done now, and then come back because it's going to be a very intense summer, I think, because there's so many of the players we're all linked to are linked to at least one, maybe two other clubs, and we all know that you know Tielemans is a great example. I think your favourites. I believe that you're in the driving seat, and the word is Arsenal are confident. But all it takes is a big team with Champions League football to miss out on a target, to suddenly go, well, Tielemans will do then, and then the world can change overnight, you know. So, yeah, I'm intrigued to see how it's going to be in relation to that. But what have you seen much of this?
It could happen to anybody, not just Arsenal.
Oh no, I'm talking about we were talking about Arsenal specifically, is why I use you as the example. But of course, it could happen to anybody. You know, I've seen it happen in my life.
I would say I'm pretty calm about the Tielemans and Gabriel Jesus stuff.
I know you are, and I would be as well right now. There's no doubt. But have you noticed any Arsenal fans? I've seen United fans do this because Spurs have signed Ivan Perisic, and they look like they're getting somewhere with Bastoni. There's almost like this. I mean, I've seen Man United fans tweeting, "Why haven't we signed anybody yet?" And I'm like, this was a few days. I'm like, bro, it was like on the 27th of May. The season had literally ended by like a day. And I'm like, why haven't we signed anybody yet? Where's the signings? It's crazy.
Because you don't trust what's going on. Like, it just is what it is. Every time I do a stream, somebody's like, we're linked with so many players, but we never sign anybody, which is like just a very overreaction to everything. Window's not open. But, you know, it just is what it is. Like, we know what the signings are going to be or what they're going to look like. We know where we are with them. So I don't know why everybody's panicking. You know, I don't know why everybody's panicking just yet. Now you get to July and nothing has happened. Then it's like, okay, yeah, let's start panic. But right now it's just,
yeah.
And also people just don't like who they think we're getting. That's also a part of it. They're just not happy with what it is.
Well, there's so much of that in football right now. It's almost if people are not there's not being happy with it, and then some people I see it in the United fan base at the minute. It's like, why are we linked with him? Oh, you know that manager that you said was absolutely top class. Yeah, he wants him. Yeah, but I don't. Oh, but what you want, what your personal preference isn't that important. Been an Arsenal fan for over 22 years. I don't believe it until they hold up the jersey. And I look at it this way. I do look at it very differently. I love the hustle and bustle, the toil and the push and the pull, the toil and the trouble, the trials and tribulations of the transfer window. I find it fun. I love all the little stories, the peccadillos. I love it when planes get tracked. I love it when people spot cars in London or in Manchester. For me, it's just a bit of fun.
You should be an Arsenal fan.
No, I definitely shouldn't do that.
We're like the only ones who really just track clouds and trees.
No, I think I've seen other fan bases do it. Arsenal are prominent with it, though. I just kind of feel like some people have taken the life and soul out of transfers, and even some journalists I've spoken to, they talk about like it's a military operation. I'm like, bro, it's a transfer. You're not on your way to like, you're not releasing top secret information that's going to cause the death of people in a war. It's transfers, bro. Relax a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It isn't as serious as some people I think would have you believe it is. Speaking of Manchester United, though,
we weren't speaking of Manchester United.
I mentioned Man United fans also tracking the same as you. So that was my last kind of
nice transition.
Very nice transition, but you kind of a little bit. Do you know what I mean? So it's okay,
Mhm.
though. I'll let you off. So Man United, of course, the Frankie de Jong situation. Before I move on to Ruben Neves, I want to talk about Frankie de Jong with you. I want to get your opinion on this. I'm not going to say a word. He keeps saying that he's kind of happy where he is. A lot of
Mhm.
British journalists and fans are like, give up. He's basically rejected Man United. But the credible Barcelona press, the Gerard Romero's as an example, the Aurier, I think his name is Dominic Fabrizio, are all like, United are in official talks and look like they will make an official bid.
Mhm.
Do you think Man United are going to make that official bid, get it accepted, and then the player rejects them anyway? Or do you think if the bid gets accepted, the deal will happen?
I mean, I think Barcelona want a certain amount of money. So, I mean, it depends on how you think about it. I think with Man United, like they want to secure whatever the fee is going to be, get all that stuff drawn up. And then with the hope that Ten Hag can convince Frankie de Jong to come, without Champions League. So maybe you just want to get everything, because at this point we know what the deal is. Like it's not just that Man United want Frankie de Jong, it's that Barcelona need to sell because they are like in financial ruin. So it's a difficult scenario because the player doesn't necessarily want to leave, but they're trying to force him out. And what are the repercussions of a player who could potentially recoup 70, 75 million plus, for a club staying there, because that would stop a lot of Barcelona's transfer business. Like, I don't think they'd be able to get Lewandowski without selling Frankie de Jong. So it's a really difficult scenario. Like, I think Manchester United want to show that they're serious and get things tied up with Barcelona in terms of a fee, because it feels like the fee keeps going up as well. Um, and then try to convince Frankie de Jong, because you also have to convince him that if he does go and give up Champions League, that you'll get it the next season. He's not going to give up wanting it just because, you get him for the first season. So I think there's some convincing to do, but at the end of the day, like I would expect the, Ruben Neves thing to happen, to go in, and maybe even Frankie de Jong just try to really push and show that you're serious. Cause I mean, he may be saying like, we don't know what he's really saying. He may not want to go, but maybe there's a chance that he'll come, to Man United. You never know. Everything is reported on extremes. It might be somewhere in the middle where he's open to it, but he needs some more convincing.
Well, that was again the news 3 days ago from the Barcelona press, is that he initially said no, but he's open-minded to it. And I just think he's open-minded to it because I think he's been told Barca may have to sell you.
Yeah.
And a lot of, there's a comment here that says he looked pretty confident in wanting no part of United, but he didn't say that. I'm not trying to just defend my club. He didn't say I will not join Man United. He didn't speak of Man United. He just sort of said, actually look at his words. He went like, at this moment, the club have told me nothing about like leaving or any other clubs, which tells you like the club haven't told me what I'm doing. So for me, I'm staying and I'm happy here and it's my dream. And I just don't think Ten Hag would sit there negotiating with Barca, or of course he's instructing John Myrtle to do it, if he didn't think that de Jong was going to say yes. It doesn't make any sense to do it that way around, and most transfers don't operate that way. However, more is needed, and you've mentioned Ruben Neves, and Ruben Neves is a real interesting one because there's talks that Wolves Ruben Neves has admirers at Manchester United, and then Rob Blanchett, who's going to be on the football terrace tomorrow, has confirmed that United will be or are looking to place an official bid, very similar to the official news that came from Fabrizio Romano today about Frankie de Jong. So the question is, how do you convince Frankie de Jong? Well, you show him that we're going to be sticking you in midfield with Ruben Neves. There's the big reports from a lot of credible journalists of Darwin Núñez being anywhere from pretty close to extremely close. I'm using their words to joining. And there's, of course, Timber that he'll know because of their allegiance with Ajax and, of course, the Netherlands. If you say, look, we're signing Timber, we're signing Darwin Nunes. We're going to have Ruben Neves there for you. He obviously wants to play again for Erik ten Hag. He's already stated that. It's Manchester United. We're going to pay you a fair amount of money as well. Plus the players are already there. And we think all of this being encompassing, we can be back inside the Champions League within a year. If Barca don't want him and have got to sell him, that could become a compelling place for him. Interestingly, Man City have pulled out because they've got their eyes elsewhere. And PSG have now pulled out. So the two other clubs that were fighting Manchester United for him right now have pulled away. Now, that could change. Again, Barca could accept our bid and PSG suddenly go, they do a little bit of a Liverpool and Spurs with Diaz. It's, well, you've done the hard work. We're going to swoop in now and match the bid. So there's always these options there. And I've said it last night, I'm in a sort of 5 to 10% club that this will happen. But I'm not focusing on Frenkie de Jong. I'm focusing on whether Barcelona say yes or no to the bid, or if we can negotiate a price for him. And they want about 72 million. I think United have said they're prepared to pay 65 million. So currently we sit at a £7 million difference. That can be negotiated. Sure, there's a way around that. And if they are in the financial difficulties, if they are in, who knows? But it's a difficult one. But with Ruben Neves, I'll be honest with you, I'm so excited about the prospects of this player. You'll know, I know that me, you, and Grizz Khan, I think, in some Twitter feeds last year, we're just kind of having a bit of a friendly conversation and stuff about him. I think he's one of the best central midfielders in the league. I think he needs to step away from Wolves and go somewhere else. I just love the way he plays. His ability on the ball, his passing range, the way he controls the tempo of a game, I think is sensational. Not the most athletic, but we know he can play in the Premier League. So I'm not worried about him coming to a new league and adjusting to the weather and the speed of play. He's already done that. I really want this player, and it's quoted £35 million Man United could pick up Ruben Neves for. I think that's a steal. And how much? I think it'd be a great deal. But how much do you think he could improve Manchester United as an overall team?
I mean, it's hard to say because I think like one of the last times I was on here, we talked about how nobody even knows how Ten Hag is actually going to play, so beyond just him being a better player than McTominay, I'm not really sure because I don't know how you guys would be lining up. My thoughts on Ruben Neves. I don't rate him as highly as you do. And I'm consistent on that because even when he was linked with Arsenal, I was not feeling it. I just don't, he's just not. Yeah. So, but at the same time, like, I'm sure he has backing from Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes, he knows them and he knows the league. And so I can see it being something positive. It just is interesting because he's the type of player that I do think could potentially play alone by himself in midfield with the right structure around him, which would allow you to play with Bruno Fernandes and maybe even a Frenkie de Jong on the left-hand side. So that'll be interesting to see how things kind of work out. But he's a good player that definitely needs to step away from Wolves so you could see if he's actually as good as what you think he is. But my feelings on it are just like, if you want to get the type of central defensive midfielder that can also play ball, he's a good option for that.
Yes, I have to full disclosure, I am biased when it comes to Ruben. Ruben, along with Jota.
Not Ruben.
Sorry?
Not Ruben. First name basis?
Yeah, Ruben, Diego, and
just call him Neves.
And Big Willie. They were the first three. God. They were the first three people. Willie Bully. They're the first three people when I moved into the private bank job, very lovely job that I had. They were the first three people I ever opened and switched across to the banking with that said bank. So I've always had a soft spot for them from them because they help propel my career in that industry. So big thank you to them. So I'm always a little bit biased and everything else, but look, I think Neves is very talented. And there was a comment that came through from Canadian Cam, who says Neves to be the Carrick replacement we never did get. And I agree. And we've been looking for someone at the right, like Nemanja Matic came to Man United 5-6 years too late. If we had him 5 or 6 years earlier, or a player of his level in their early mid-20s, you'd have had a different fit. He just burnt out too quickly because he was at the end of his career and couldn't handle things anymore. We know Neves can handle things. He plays in a team with not surrounded by far less quality than what Man United have and will have by the end of this transfer window. And you're right, he can play in a 3, he can play in a 2. He's got a good long shot on him. He's a I think he's a pretty good free kick taker. We don't have one at Manchester United. There are a number of areas and holes within our squad that he can help.
And also you have to consider what's better out there. Sorry to cut you off, but what else is actually out there on the market? I think people turn down signings or shoot down signings really early on but they don't actually see what's actually out there. So beyond Tchouaméni, who's going to Real Madrid, what central defensive midfielder that can actually play ball too? There's different ones. I just never would have ever thought that Ten Hag would want a destroyer. It just isn't, it's not in the ethos, right? Like you don't just want some guy that could just crunch tackles. Like you want somebody who can play. That shrinks down that pool so much more. So if you can get somebody Premier League proven, 25 years old, knows some of the other players, like that's probably the best you can do with where you are at the moment. And so that's good recruitment to get the best of what you can, like from what's there. So I think Neves would be a good signing for Man United. As long as he gets rid of that bun.
Yeah, the man bun thing, I agree with completely. I think that does have to go. I'm writing a poll now, people. I'm writing De Jong, Neves, and I'm asking you this question as well. Darwin, Núñez, and Timber. They're the 4 we're most heavily linked to. I'm going to rank this window out of 10. So out of 10, so like from 1 to, we'll do 1 to 3. We'll do 4 to 6 as an option. We'll do 7 to 9, and then we'll stick a 10 in there. So they're your options, people. That's in the live chat now, so make sure you're voting on that. How would you rank, Jess, that window for Man United? Say they were to pull those 4 players in. So Timber, Darwin Núñez, Ruben Neves, Frenkie de Jong. If they could pull that off, what would you rank that out of 10 for Manchester United?
I would say maybe
based on the players. We don't know how we're going to play yet, but based on the players.
Like an 8. I think it solves like most of the issues that you guys have. The only player that I look at that I think, we have to kind of see what they're like is Núñez. That's it. Other than that, like Timber, like he's mustard, like he's a very good player. Like he'll be really good for Ten Hag. Like Frenkie de Jong, one of my favorite players, never gonna act like he's not just because he'd be going to a rival. Ruben Neves for the reasons that we've already said, and you instantly improve the midfield. To what level, I don't know, but you instantly improve that midfield. Núñez is an interesting one because he's banging in goals where he's at. We know other players have been able to step up from that Portuguese league and do pretty well. When I watch him, he's a really good compilation player where obviously they show the goals. If you look at the standard of goalkeeping and defending, it's not really that great. He doesn't like to get kicked either. You see him kind of go out wide because he doesn't want to have to deal with center backs and things like that. Hard worker, good aerial threat. Needs to work on his technical, the technical side of his game, So I don't know how far he would be away, from being able to start games, but it doesn't really matter because you have Cristiano Ronaldo. But for the amount that you're going to pay for Núñez, you would hope that he's close. So you have to see kind of what happens with that. But 8, very good.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Núñez is funny because obviously, we've had these conversations before. I'm very much on the fence with him. You've explained all the reasons why. I'm not fully convinced. But a lot of people were. Across football, I remember in the games against Liverpool that were coming up, there was this hype, this excitement of I can't wait to watch him play. He suddenly linked to Man United, and a lot of people. I respect your opinion on him because before the Man United links, you said these things. It's a lot of people's opinions of Núñez, of Neves, even of Frenkie de Jong has heavily changed since they've been linked with Man United. And I do get it. We're rivals and we put each other's players down. And, you guys had it with Tomiyasu last year. I think I was one of the rare people on social, let alone just like rivals, who said, I think Tomiyasu is a good player. No. Basically, if they're not fashionable or they're linked to a rival, I think what happened with Tomiyasu, he was linked to Spurs most of the summer. So a lot of Gooners spent the whole summer saying, he's crap. And then suddenly you bought him and he said, I'm now in the mud a little bit. I've got to play it down a little bit and then go, I was wrong later on down the line. But yeah, for me, I kind of look at it as a 7.5, 8. And that's because of the question marks over Darwin Núñez and the amount of money that he's going to cost. I look at Ruben Neves as an 8 out of 10 signing. Frenkie, it's all on paper, 9 out of 10. Timber, I'd look at it as a 7. And that's because, again, young, raw, not played at the highest level in Europe yet, club-wise, league-wise.
Yeah.
So there's a question mark on him. But I look at sort of Darwin Núñez. He could either be a 3 or he could end up being a 10. If he comes to the Prem and he improves on some technical elements and scores at the same rate, I think the guy has like 70 to 80 goals in just over 130 games in his career, and he's 22 years of age. That is a brilliant record. If he goes to that next level, he could end up being an absolute snip. And that's the thing about the prices. You know, Frenkie de Jong and Darwin turn up for a combined total of 120 million, but they deliver and they fit into this Ten Hag system and they deliver. No one's going to talk about the price. No, like Bruno's a great example. Even though he's getting a lot of stick now, for the first 18 months, no one mentioned he cost 60 million because he was delivering against that 60 million pound price tag. And that's what Man United need. And, you know, there's still a lot of good players in this. And that's the thing about those signings, which I'm intrigued by. You throw in, you know, Donny coming back and getting another chance. You've got Young's James Garner, who I really want to see given an opportunity. I'm not talking about him being a star boy. You know, you can pull that face, but you've got that. Was that player at your club, Patio, that you guys all think is going to be good?
Patio?
Whatever his name is.
Not Patio. Okay.
Potato,
Young Patio.
Potato? What's his name?
I'm not even going to entertain you at the moment.
I don't remember his name. Is it Potato?
Young Patio. Okay.
Patio.
Young Garter. You want to call him Young Garden.
Yeah, okay.
Garden and Patio. There you go.
Yeah, the garden.
Go ahead and hype him up.
No, I'm not hyping
I
him up.
saw you guys using his successes as your own. Like, look at Gardner go. Like he just barely touched the ball.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He dominated the midfield all year.
He didn't dominate. Okay.
He was brilliant this year. He did.
Young Garden.
I saw a tweet. I'm trying to
ever.
Is it Charlie Patio? Charlie Patino. That's his name.
Patino.
Messing around. I couldn't work it out. But I saw a tweet that made me die the other day, and it was like the real quad, and it was a picture of Ten Hag holding his league trophy, Jamie Gardner holding the player trophy, the youth academy trophy, and then somebody else. There was another trophy someone else was holding. I think like a real treble.
Rangers, maybe for Ahmad.
Yes, it was. It was a mad. It was a mad with the yeah. And I honestly, I died with laughter because
KJ is so good for that. Like, he's living vicariously through other teams and Man United loanies. It's great.
Yeah, listen, I'm obviously being very flippant with it, but I'm looking forward to him being added into that team and a few other players kind of coming in and doing their thing as well. But I think Neves would be an excellent signing for Man United.
You guys are going to have so many man buns. It's going to be insane.
Oh, yeah, we got 2.
Terrace, Darwin Núñez.
Let's just cut his hair off now.
He cut it? Okay.
Yeah, he cut it ages ago. Yeah, he ain't
maybe
got the man bun.
Ronaldo will...
Right back. Wait, did he have a man bun ever? I don't remember.
Did he have a man bun? Let me look it up.
Yeah, I don't know. KJ is actually watching. He said, yeah, lol, elite tweet. Send me the tweet, KJ. You must have got it. You must have it in your bookmarks. So send it to me, please, KJ. I know you're watching, my guy. Says this comment here says, Narjesh, you can't compare the way Arsenal fans lust over Patio.
And I was never one of them. I knew he was looking real lightweight.
Do you know what was funny? Like one of my highlights of the season is when you guys had those injuries and everyone was like, he is going to come in and kill it. Not everyone, a lot of Arsenal fans. Bruv, you guys forfeited games pretty much. We did the whole COVID thing. Like he can't play by himself.
He did.
Oh, he did have a man bun. He did.
He can grow one back as well.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the man bun. There's only a few men. Beckham could kind of pull it off. And who's that guy that plays Aquaman? Jason something.
One of the Hemsworth or whatever?
No, that's...
no. Momo?
Yeah, him.
I know Why do I call him Momo?
I know you mean, yeah.
Jason Momo?
Jason... Yeah, him. Yeah, he can pull it off, but that's because he's got like the muscles and he's in such good shape. Like honestly, physique wise, if I was to be disciplined enough to eat well for like a year and go gym, that's the kind of size and physique I'd like to be. Not these like skinny guys that have six packs because they're skinny. I don't like it. It annoys me. He ain't got a six pack. He's
Right.
skinny, bruv. Anyway, we digress massively. But yeah, that's the kind of roundup on that. Viewers, get your questions in. Of course, we always prioritize our super chats and member chats because you keep the channel going brilliantly. Get your questions into us. What do you want us to speak about, talk about, debate? Amber Heard to be part of Aquaman 2. Yeah, there we go. I tell you what. That's a very weird comment from someone there. But yeah, there's a lot of people canceling each other last night on spaces in the internet. It was a madness. Like I didn't get involved. I just sat back and watched
I
it.
went in there for like 5 minutes and I was like, no. And I was yeah.
Do you know?
Because I like a bit of drama. Like I do, because I don't have like that much drama in my life. So sometimes it's like I just want to partake a little bit and then jump back out. I couldn't even get in. It wasn't even good. It was so gross. Like it was weird. Sorry. It was weird.
Do you know what I thought about it? I was kind of watching from afar and just listening to it. And I understood the initial upset and frustration and annoyance of what was said and anger. It was then the way, well, once he got in trouble, people that went for him, people then went and found stuff they'd said and done, and then what they said and done. And all I kept looking was all these screenshots of all these ridiculous things people had said. And then I started looking at the kind of age profile of these people. Early 20s and teens, late teens still. And I've been saying this to youngsters for a long time on social media. I really have been. That
young whippersnappers.
It's not even about that. No, but it's true. They take this, but it's true. They write and tweet and say things when they're young because they're not thinking about the future. But it's a footprint for everything. The older generations are generally safer because by the time we started using these platforms, people were already in employment.
Nobody knows what we were up to. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Everything is now recorded or.
But there's something I saw on a podcast the other day which stood out to me so much, and it was very much that the people that push the cancel culture on mistakes people have made, what you're actually doing is you're almost guaranteeing that in the future, whether it be instant or whether it be later down the line, you're going to be cancelled because you keep pushing them, you keep moving the line further and further, and then no one knows in 5 years time, 10 years time, what we're saying, what things that are being said now are going to be cancelable or wrong in the future. We don't ever know. There's things that you can't do and say now, which 10, 20 years ago were deemed acceptable and people did because they thought it was okay to. So yeah, it was a madness like last night on socials. I didn't get involved. I didn't express an opinion because I don't really know anyone who's involved. And for me, it's a case of, I just didn't want the heat. Like my view is I could send a tweet. I could go, oh, this is disgraceful. Well done for doing this. And then all you get is the backlash from it. And actually, I don't need to prove my morality by tweeting things and getting people cancelled and whatever else. Like it, couldn't be getting that done. Didn't need to be doing that.
By sending your super chats, it's a part of my summer fun fund. So I want to go somewhere nice this summer. So you guys get those super chats in there. It's gonna pay for my drinks.
Viewers, any questions you've got, let us know. Let's go to some of the comments that have come through here. No comment, Terry. They are hipsters. I can't stand them, is what Prime says.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Terry, how many? Okay, I can't pronounce the word, but the Portuguese league have you watched from Portugal? How many games? Ooh.
Nil. Zero.
Answered. Which is why when people turn around and go, do you think Darwin Núñez is a good signing? Unless you're watching him week in, week out, I don't want to hear your opinion. As in, I don't want to hear you wax lyrical about him like you know what you're chatting about. Because you haven't been watching him. If you haven't been watching him, you don't get to
all you have to do is watch compilations and you know everything you need to know about players.
But some people actually, that's some people's way though, you know. To be fair, that's some people's mantra. It's their way. It's what they do. It's how they do these things.
Still a good player.
They do these things. How they do it. But what I'd like to know from the viewers is, I want to know what team you support in the comments and the player that you want your team. Who's the number one player that you think your team should be signing this summer? That is what I would like to know. So get those comments in. We're going to dissect it and we're going to go through that right about now. I've had a few DMs as well. People just said it'd be links to different stories. Excuse me. Oh, Bukayo Saka's trending. That'll be because of that fashion thing he did today, isn't it? I assume that'll be because of the
Or
fashion.
because they're looking at him for Liverpool. You never know. You never know.
That's a good point. That's a good point. If Liverpool do lose, oh my God, KJ, go away. ASM, get out, get out, get out.
That's a
Honestly,
perfect signing for you guys.
that
To
is
be
going to be a
honest.
sackable offense if you say that again, KJ. You will lose your job. City fan here says Kukurea. Yeah, he's I like him a lot. I think he's a very good player. Do you think, Jess, Arsenal can get Gnabry? Do you think you've got the pull, the money, the power, and the manager to sign Sergio Gnabry?
No, because we don't have Champions League and he wants 300 grand a week. We're not doing it. I feel like fans have kind of made this up. There's an opportunity because he's not re-signing, and he has said in the past, like, he could see himself coming back to Arsenal, but like, this would be the type of signing that like you would do if you really wanted to push the envelope. Arsenal are not going to push the envelope. They're going to stay, within their little confines. They're not going to go out that far. So I can't see it happening. Nice dream though. Nice dream.
Yeah, I saw like a picture someone put up from a guy that runs a social account or something at Arsenal. Like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, the guy that runs your social media accounts at Arsenal has nothing to do
I mean,
with
I think like he's a Southampton fan or something. Like, I don't know.
yeah.
I don't even know if he's really an Arsenal fan. Like, people are getting too caught up.
Ruben Neves and Basuma to United is better than Frenkie de Jong. Listen, if we have the money for all the players I mentioned that are in the poll, cool. If we don't, I would rather a prolific striker and these two in midfield, Basuma and Neves, than Frenkie de Jong and Ruben Neves and no top class striker.
So, okay, go ahead.
I'm done.
Is there a chance that, because that's a lot of money. I know you guys have the money, but that is a lot of money for all those players. Timber, Nunez,
Let's do the math.
De Jong,
Let's do the math here. So Neves, de Jong, 72 million is what they're saying right now. Darwin Nunez, they're saying 65 million pounds. So that's about 137. They're saying around 35 for Ruben, which is 172. And they're saying about 35 for Timber. So we're looking at 207 million.
Okay, so has it already been talked about as whether or not Ruben Neves is it either or is it both?
We don't know. We're going to have Rob Blanchett on the show tomorrow to kind of.
I feel like it might be either or if you look at the money.
It could be, but I still think we could raise, even if it would go, you've only got 120, 130 million to spend. I think we could raise 50 to 70 million in sales. And what you're saving in terms of
buying your players.
Who? Someone to buy someone.
Who?
We raise 50 to 60 million.
For who?
Who not? Go on, name me some players you don't think we could sell people.
Who's buying who? I'm confused.
People buy players.
Okay, so how are you guys going to raise these funds?
Well, you've got Eric Bay, 15 to 20 million. Okay, easily.
He's crocked.
10 million. We'll go 10. We agree? Okay.
Right.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka is linked to a 25 million pound move to Roma. So let's say we get that. I'm just putting out there based on what the rumors say. So we're already on 35. I said 50 to 70. We're already on 35 million. That's two players. Okay. You're saving Pogba's salary. We offered him £400,000 a week. That money is now saved. You can put that into transfers as an example. You've got Dean Henderson, 15 to 20 million. So we're now on 50 to 60 million pound of three sales. You take that off of that amount of money, just those three alone. I haven't even looked or thought about anyone. Martial, you could easily get 20 million for Martial. Easily.
There's nobody going to give you money for Martial.
So you've got 70 million there, right? 207 million minus 70 mil. 100. If I said now United are going to spend, and I don't like net spend, but quote net spend 137 million. that wouldn't look weird. Like people say we can't afford it. The money's there.
Okay.
It's easy.
I can't wait to revisit this.
Williams, 10 million. Of course, we can't. Look, listen, I didn't say we will. Don't you? They're going to twist it into. Terry said we could eat. If we've got good salespeople, get me on the sales team. I'll raise 90 million for Man United. Easy in sales. Easy.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, there's money to be raised there.
'Cause
What I
nobody
mean,
likes to buy so when you wanna sell your players to those other leagues, nobody wants to buy them because 1, most of the times they're not very good, 2,
mm,
they're on very high wages, and they just don't have the money. So, we'll see how it goes, but it'll be interesting to see what, Rob, you said his name was?
Rob Blanchett, yeah, he's on tomorrow.
Yeah, what he says about if it's either or both, because it feels like it might be either or,
It
but I
could be.
get that it could be both. I
It
get
could
what
be.
you're saying.
Yeah, it's worth looking at and working out and seeing what we kind of do there. Terry Lewandowski Mane swap. Who do you think, Jess? What do you think Liverpool will do? Who will be the player they target? You've heard Lewandowski. I've heard like Son's name mentioned a few times. I think they should go all out, break the bank, spend whatever they have to sign Harry Kane. I know they're not going to, but that's what I think they should do. What do you think they should and or will do at Liverpool if Mane is to go? Who do you think it may be?
I think they should go for a central striker, a real like not a real center forward. We know what Firmino is a false nine. So I think they should go for a center forward because eventually, like, you've been playing not the same way, but you've been playing a similar way for like 5, 6 seasons. So you might want to do something different. You don't want to bring in, you have Diego Jota who can play central. You have Firmino that can play central, but neither of them really have the central forward presence that, Man City will probably have with Holland. So you may want to do something like that because you've already done the wide forwards and all that kind of stuff. And when you look at like the likes of Danjuma, who's a very good player, does he bring up the levels of Liverpool? Like, what is he gonna do? Like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it might be interesting to look at like a central forward like Nunez, who's green, but something like that. Or, I mean, are they really gonna go out there and really try to slap the money down for Harry Kane? I don't know. But maybe Lewandowski, but Lewandowski has his heart set, I think, on Barcelona. So I think they should go for a central striker, center forward. They have enough of the wide guys, I think, but that's just my take on it.
Yeah, and City are changing how they play next season. As in, they're going to be used. They have just bought Alvarez and Haaland. They're playing. They're playing a centralized striker. They are playing if you get wrong, yeah, of course, both players can drop deep and they can drift into the channels. Number nines have done that since day dot. Like working the channels is an essential part of being a striker. Just in case any football fan didn't realize that. But City are going to change up how they play. And it's going to be an adaptation. And why that's important is you can't keep playing the same way with the same personnel. All players dropping into the same pockets and running into the same channels and moving in the same way. Because you do get this level. It's maybe too subtle for our eyes, but you'll get found out because people will watch you. They know what you're doing. Adding Alvarez and adding Haaland changes the way City attack. Is in different players doing different things. It's going to mean the wide players might be cutting in less and shooting less. It might be more getting to the byline and cutting the ball back, or varying the play a little bit more. More through balls being played as an example, especially with so many teams now in the Prem, even lesser teams, smaller teams playing higher lines. That could be a way forward. Don't get twisted about Haaland. The guy's actually quite quick for a man his size. And maybe that's why he breaks down so much. So maybe Liverpool need to look at that as well, as you say, that adaptation, that change, that kind of way of doing things, that little bit sort of differently in many, many ways. I think that's going to be really, really key for them next year. It is. Comment here says, I've heard people say it different ways. How do you pronounce this man's name?
Osimhen.
Osimhen. So I've heard people say Osimhen, as in like Osimhen. But either way, Victor, I'm going to call him, would be a more dynamic forward for United than Nunez based on the midfield you are linked to. I'm a Liverpool fan and I want you to get the high price players. What's your take on that?
Is he more dynamic? They're different because Nunez, he's a central forward. He can play central, but he likes to drift off into the wide channels. Because again, like I said, he looks to me like somebody who doesn't like to be kicked. So you go wide, you go up against fullbacks versus center backs. Osimhen is likes to do the battle with the center backs. That's what he's good at. He can hold the ball up. He can remain central. He's a true aerial threat and a physical striker, like in every sense of the way, So dynamic, I'm not sure, but he would give you more central presence. And you have a lot of players that like to drift wide. You have like Rashford who can do that, drift out wide. So Darwin Nunez is not going to give you that centrality maybe that you're looking for in the short term. But I think they're both very good players. I think the issue with Osimhen is getting him out of Napoli when they already spent 80 million to bring him in. They're going to want a lot for him. And there's a lot of people that kind of project upon him that he's world class. He's never really, scored more than 15 goals for Napoli in a season. So to consider him world class, I think is a little bit over the top. But that's just the striker market is not very good. You have a bunch of really young players that are from prospect to maybe just young players that you're going to have to spend a lot on that don't really maybe fit all the requirements, that you're not quite sure what they're going to do in your league. I think Nunez is a good option because he would be a little bit less, and you have Ronaldo already. Nunez might be okay with sitting behind Ronaldo. Osimhen will not. So you have those issues as well.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, Saka's trending because he's been nominated for the Young PFA Player of the Year. I'm not sure if it's the men's PFA Player of the Year list that is. Oh, the short list is Van Dijk, Kane, Sadio Mane, Salah, De Bruyne, Cristiano Ronaldo. His name's just been put on there because it will get all these followers to vote and click. There's no doubt. We'll be doing, by the way, over the next tomorrow evening and Friday evening, Football Terrace ranking shows. We're waiting for the announcement of the shortlist. We'll be doing a full debate and live ranking show on the Football Terrace.
Lord.
So you can pick who and where you want.
You love those shows.
They're my favorite.
I can't do those shows. I'm sorry. Y'all get too serious.
They're my favorite shows. They are.
Hypothetical rankings.
Terry finally coming clutch with some good news for once. Thank you, Julian. Do you know what I love about Julian? Julian watches most of my streams, especially when they're about Arsenal. He did this with Dean the other day when Dean was praised, or no, it might have been Jacobs last week, when they were talking the good things about Arsenal. He was like, "Oh, I love this journalist, tier one, retete." And then then one of them said something that he found derogatory about Arsenal. This guy's a liar. This guy's a waffler. Julian, you make me die. You literally make me die in every single stream. And a lot of people are asking, "Are you the Julian from AFTV?" Surely not. Surely that Julian, that's not you. You'd have your face on screen, wouldn't you? Arsenal are now interested in signing Frenkie. Stop it. Hang on. No.
But I could see with that article that had come out, you were like, surely it can't be true. Surely.
No.
Full on investigation into the whole article. I was dying. I woke up and I saw that. I was like,
but
rattled.
It just made me laugh because I didn't mean it rudely to the Football London, but it was like, if Alistair Gold via Football London says something, I know he's a credible journalist. And I'm like, I don't know who the journalist was. I clicked on the article. I didn't read it because I was like, who is this guy that's got this news? Where's it come from? And it turned out it was based on a quote from like 1993 or something. No, I'm joking. It wasn't that long ago, but I was like, hang on, I'm going to have
surely it can't be true.
It's not quite, you're misinterpreting how I said it, but I hear you.
Well, how did you say it?
I was like, surely this can't be true. See,
I think it was more, surely it can't be true. Like,
how dare they? How dare they write this?
Hang on
a minute. I'm going onto the Mirror. I'm going onto their website here to find this story. I've got to find it. I'm going to click on the Arsenal page. Wouldn't it be funny if it was the exact same thing Football.London did? I don't know where it is, though. Why can't I find it? KJ, send me the link. DM me the link.
You.
He can. He's watching the show.
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No.
Viewers, can you hear me? I think the viewers can hear me. This happened earlier with the caller.
So unprofessional, you guys. Oh my god.
I'm muting. Guys, yes or no in the comments. Can you hear me? So I can put them up on the screen. Hurry up, please. Write something. Yes, the viewers can hear me. It's you. Go out, come back in.
No,
you can't hear me. You've got to leave and come back. Everyone else can hear me. You've got the problem.
No, they can hear you now. Now, this second.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear what I'm saying? Can you acknowledge?
Whatever. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You weren't answering properly. I didn't know what you're talking about. All right, cool. What were we even talking about? Yeah, KJ, send me the DM. Send me the DM, my guy. But there we go. There we go. But everyone can hear me. Julian says, "Nah, bro. Maybe it was just Arsenal fans couldn't hear me while we were talking about Arsenal." Hang on a second here, Terry. Player that already won Young Player of the Year in the past shouldn't be nominated. Why shouldn't they be nominated? They're still young players. What they should do is add a thing. They should add Rookie of the Year. So a player either young or old playing their first season in the Prem. There should be like when they started the campaign in the Prem.
The rookie got to be somebody. It's got to have an age cutoff.
Maybe max age 25 or something. But
you can't have the old guys coming into this league talking about rookie 31 Terrace rookie of the season. Like what? No.
I hear that. PR lies by Journos and Super Arteta, and yep, I can hear you. I knew my people could hear me. I knew my people.
Lone Wolf Emperor, also known as Ruben.
And still, KJ has not DM'd me. He might have WhatsApped me, but that's not what I asked for. I'm very specific where I want things. It means I've got to open up another window and it damages the Wi-Fi here.
Okay.
But has he sent it to me? No. Come on, KJ. Work here. This is work, KJ. Get this done. Oh, he's looking for it. Okay, I thought you had it, KJ. That's why you were posting it in the comment section. Sorry, my guy.
I'm surprised that KJ can work in these conditions. It seems like a very, toxic work environment.
Do you think working for TFT and Snack and that is like that?
No, not TFT. Terry Floors.
But I am the football terrace. Like,
no, okay. Just
when I first started, I used to do the whole we at the terrace and we this. It was just me and a camera. Just say we to make it sound bigger. And
better. Okay, you guys. So I have a story. It's not a really good one, but so when I first was asked to come onto the football terrace, it was like a year ago, and I got a message, and it was like, "Hey, seen some of your stuff. Would you like to come on to the show, with Terry, like mentioning Terry, like, oh yeah, like, would you like to come on?" And I'm like, yeah, sure. And it's like, oh, well, give me like your information and, we'll talk about the show or whatever. And I did that. And then lo and behold, it was just Terry all along. Like, it wasn't like an assistant or anybody. It was literally him from that account saying, do you want to come on the show with Terry?
It was very professional though, wasn't it? Like, it wasn't like a weird thing. It was just like trying to make us sound a bit more better than we are, at the time. Like, it was just a thing.
It was funny.
I know.
But I knew it wasn't an assistant. Like, for some reason, I just knew it.
Yeah, like most
business settings. Yeah.
Everyone kind of knew. I think if we were at that point already in the studio and doing more production in there, it might have been a bit different. But we have one now. I now have my own PA. We call him a content manager, but he's basically my PA. Does my laundry stuff, gets the coffee. KJ's now with us, and more to come. But there we go. So it's making me laugh when I did it. Terry, who would your key signing, Terry, be and why? For me, it is a central midfielder. I'm a big fan of Ruben Neves. I like Basuma. I quite like the idea of Kamara when he was available. I think we need, whether it's someone that comes with that power or it's someone that reads the game, someone does both is even better. Cam mentioned earlier, like a replacement for Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick wasn't a powerhouse midfielder, but he was more successful in midfield than a lot of the other quote unquote star English midfielders were. Won more league titles, dominated more games, far more successful across most competitions. But he sat there and controlled the tempo of games. Michael Carrick was a very unfashionable footballer in his day. If he was playing now, he'd get so much more. We just had a guy that plays similar to him, not as good as him, but similar to him, come third in a Ballon d'Or, because suddenly the register, the control of the tempo is looked at as very much a sort of key standout player. So that's why I'm a big fan of Ruben Neves and how he plays and how he does things. I think he would be instrumental for us. But I think what's also key for Man United is getting rid of certain players. And, we haven't really touched on it yet today, but Paul Pogba is gone. Jesse Lingard has gone. And for me, I feel like players that don't want to be here need to go. And I still think, and I don't know if we'll do it, but I still think a sacrificial lamb, someone that's seen as and maybe Pogba is that guy, because he, for a lot of Man United fans, is like one of the poster boys of the failed era. Big money signing, storms the unveiling, and it didn't quite work. So I think some of them leaving are just as key as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, makes sense.
Josh here says, can I about Frenkie de Jong? If we open talks with Barca about a fee, that means he must be on board with joining, because there will be no way to talk about the fee. I gave Arsenal a lot of praise for their very brave approach with Vlahovic, and I did, and I meant it. There was no cap, there was no sarcasm. The way they went for Vlahovic was brave, and I think they had to do it that way because he didn't want to join. He was a little different. He wanted to leave Fiorentina, but he didn't. But he wanted to go to a certain club. It was a slightly different scenario. But Arsenal did something that was so rare. Actually, and I mean, it's in a polite way. It's not even a dig. It was a rare thing for
Arsenal. Looking at that thing that KJ sent. Keep going.
Oh, he put it. Oh, okay. It's one of those things where, like, from my point of view, I felt like, sorry, through me what I was even saying. Where was I? About the fee. Arsenal did something which is rare in the transfer window. Normally, it's you get the player to agree to joining. On, the phrase that's been coined by Fabrizio that everyone now uses is, rather than saying personal terms agreed, they say personal terms will be no problem, which essentially means he's agreed to join, but it gets you a get out. It's not quite as far down the line. That is the process. You get them to agree to join first. Personal terms are no problem. And then you start talking to the football club. So unless Man United are doing an Arsenal with Vlahovic and trying to get the club on board first, then going back to the player, I agree with you, Josh. It feels very weird.
So I guess what my question would be then, why haven't they said that he just wants to come?
Because, again, this is what always happens. So I use a Man United example to keep it sort of on. Is when Anthony Martial tried to leave Manchester United in the past. He tried to leave Manchester United back in 2017, and he was linked with, ironically, Sevilla. And when these stories came about, he went out and went on the PR offensive, and he did an interview and spoke about his respect for the fans. He spoke about his. Are you listening? Or are you reading something? I don't know. We're talking to each other. Just busy. I'm joking. And he spoke about his respect to the fans, how much he loves the club, how much he loves playing here, how sees his future here, which was very strange for someone who just sent his agent out to look. Antoine Griezmann did it at Atletico. Now, the reason he ended up staying for an extra year is because they got a transfer ban. But in the year or so building up to that, his point of almost leaving, he kept on speaking about how much he loves the club, he loves it here, but his agent and team were trying to get him to move away. It's very typical for a player to speak like that, because if Barca do come into some money and don't have to sell him, Frenkie de Jong has spoken publicly about him wanting to leave. I want to go and work with Ten Hag. I'd love to join Man United. It's a very hard thing to do, to walk back into the Camp Nou with them fans knowing you've said you want to leave. So most people, even when they're trying to leave, will generally remain quite coy about wanting to go. It's clever PR, really, for me. Like, that's why I think it is. And I've seen it many, many times. So this article here says Arsenal News. We've got the link now. KJ got it through to us. And it says, I'm going to read this out from the private chat box. It says, Arsenal have had their hopes of hijacking Manchester United's move for Barcelona, Frenkie de Jong, boosted after his past comment. Okay, I'm not reading anymore. It's based on past comments. But is there actually any hope of Arsenal? Are Arsenal actually looking at Frenkie de Jong, though? That's the question.
No, that's a clip straight from that Football London thing. It's directly based on the same premise. I don't know why people are getting so up in arms about that, unless you guys are afraid somebody might actually hijack you guys for it.
No, I'm not. I'm talking, do you know, on a real level.
It's literally coming from that same quote that he said from when he was younger.
Do you want to know what my thought on it really is? On a real level, they're writing it for Arsenal fans, but they're just giving, like, if a journalist says, I've been told that Arsenal are talking to the reps of De Jong, then it makes sense to maybe have a little bit of excitement. But you're not actively in the deal. You're not talking to him. You're not trying to sign him. You're not looking at him. It's an absolute pointless. There is the hopes that Arsenal have no hope of hijacking because they're not trying to hijack it. So why even write the article? Like, I understand people, like, I don't mind that there's all these websites that write hundreds of transfer stories a day. Earn your money, do your thing. But it has to at least be linked to a credible transfer expert saying there's a chance here. Like, I don't get why an Arsenal newspaper or a section of a paper that's dedicated to Arsenal fans would write an article about Arsenal being linked to a player that they're not even linked to. It doesn't make. I don't know why they would do that to you all. I'm not annoyed about my end of things. If we go toe to toe with Arsenal for Frenkie de Jong, we will beat you to him, in my opinion. No disrespect, I think we will. My bugbear is, why would any Arsenal journalist write that to kind of weirdly boost Arsenal fans' hopes up? It's kind of strange to me.
I don't know, but at the same time, I'm looking at Arsenal fans in the chat. I don't think any of us really think that that's actually going to happen unless you haven't read it. So that's just how people do during the transfer window. They want to get clicks. They want to get people to actually read it. So it's one of those.
And I get that. And unless I'm doing an opinion piece on a video, generally speaking, yes, I cover a lot of the transfer stories. But the idea is to give people a chance to speak about them. We share the links. We give our opinions. But there's always the link. You know, it's not I would never do a video going, you know, I don't know, I just wouldn't do it. Like, I did one the other day where I was talking about Kane to replace him. But that was very much me saying it from the off. It was never about, I never pretended there was some link. I didn't use some obscure passage from an interview from Harry Kane from six years ago where he mentioned how much he loves Liverpool as a city or something. That's just a weird one for me, maybe. But then again, I'm not a journalist. I'm a football fan. But yeah, just a strange one for me. And that's not a dig.
Feels more like a slow news day than anything else, to be honest.
Comment here says, to be honest, Terry, I think Neves is going to Barcelona. If they sell De Jong, they will use the funds to buy Neves. Maybe. And listen, as long as Man United do look at a sort of holding midfield player or a DM, as the phrase is often turned out, I think that's important. De Jong wants to play Champions League football. I'm sorry, Arsenal and Man United fans. It's just a reality. I do agree, he does. But the question I would throw back to you is, if Barca tell him, we are selling you, we have to sell you, we cannot afford to keep you. Remember, this is how bad their situation is. They owe Gerard Piqué £50 million in wages that they haven't been able to pay him yet. So if they tell Frenkie de Jong, you're going because we can't keep you, unless another big Champions League team comes in for him, like, Frenkie de Jong might be this is the point, he may be in a position where he doesn't have that choice, potentially. Maybe not. But
I don't think you can you just sell a player if they actually just don't want to go?
I think you look, if he point blank says, I'm not signing anything, then maybe.
Because, I mean, he has a contract. We wanted to sell Ozil for a while, and he kept pointing out to that contract.
He did, you know? but that's because nobody else was willing to pay Ozil what you guys were paying him. So Man United, I think, would be very happy to match his salary. If another club, I'm going to throw a weird name out there. If Borussia Dortmund, they're not going to pay this. I just threw their name out. They're not got the money, but it doesn't matter. It's hypothetical. If they said, we'll match the wages that Arsenal were giving you, he'd have gone. Potential. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, he stayed because you guys are paying him colossal amounts of money. You are right. He may refuse to go. But if he loves the club as much as he says, if everything else, and he needs to go to help the club to move forward, I think he might do it. And also, most players don't want to be at a club where the club don't want you there for one reason or another, if that makes sense, and frictions. But he might still refuse to do it. My point is, there's a chance for Man United or anyone else outside of Barca to get him if the club decides to sell. No, I've said it earlier, 5 to 10% chance. But to act like it's like impossible, that just doesn't sit right with me. I'm not saying you've said that, but a few people. PK is going to pass away before they pay him that money. I doubt it. They'll get him his money at some point. PK is doing all right, by the way. Why do you want players who don't want you, Terry? I don't think it's as basic as that, my friend. It's not like Man United are asking to marry him and he says, no, he loves somebody else. It's a professional decision, you know, and professionally things change, you know, and it's just as simple as that. Igal here says slow news day. Potentially, it said the same thing there that Jess had to say. Jess, thoughts on Calvin Phillips to City?
I mean, I guess, maybe they need a different option to Rodri now that Fernandinho is not, at the club anymore. So they need something. It looks also like Man City are pivoting towards English players. That's interesting. That's, before that really wasn't their jam. Now Grealish, potentially looking at Calvin Phillips. He would probably go to them if the money was right. I think Calvin Phillips will stay at Leeds, but it's interesting because he's another one that I'm not really sure. I believe he's as good as people make him out to seem, but they just need somebody else that's not Rodri to step in, So maybe it's another Ake type of situation. Maybe it doesn't make sense to me, but it works for them.
Mm.
I mean, do you think he's good enough? I mean, what do you think?
I think
Where do you rank him in terms of Premier League midfielders?
Yeah, I think he's pretty good. You know, in terms of that holding role, he's probably in the top 10 out of 20 teams. Like he's somewhere in there. I think he needs to get away from Leeds and go to a proper club, I say proper club, a big club who are competing to see how good he is. I think City are also interested partly for the homegrown thing. Raheem Sterling looks like he could leave as an example. So they probably want to just keep that quota up. He could end up being what he's got to hope for if he doesn't become a Fabian Delph or a. I mean, I know that who's the centre back? He's going to leave from Bournemouth.
Okay.
I know he isn't English, but I do think he counts as homegrown because he come through the Chelsea academy. So with him and Raheem Sterling potentially leaving, they may need that homegrown talent to sort of come back. I think that will play a part in it. There's an interesting comment here that says, Terry, that under the new Champions League format, it will mean that Arsenal and United will most likely get Champions League if they come fifth. Is that in place from this season, that kind of that legacy rule?
I thought it was next season.
I thought it was next season. As in, well, if it's next, is it qualification for next season's Champions League anyway, but either way, if it was this season, that's another reason. Again, if suddenly England has the potential, and it'll be the English and Spanish and Italian clubs predominantly, maybe a bit of German. If there's an opportunity for a team like Man United to come fifth, but still get in the Champions League because of that. So again, it makes it a slightly easier sell to people and Arsenal to bring players in. But there we go. Listen, everyone who has tuned in today, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. Jess, a pleasure as always to share the screen with you. My super chatters are amazing. Members, you're brilliant. And everyone involved with the Terrace, a big thank you to all of my team. There is a team of us now. It's great. But until next time, my people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you.